Parents of Reddit, what was the worst thing you got caught doing by your children?
Not my personal story, but I have a friend who when she was about 10 or so walked in on her parents going at it. Rightly horrified, she ran downstairs to the basement and promptly walked in on her older sister and some guy going at it too. She says that she didn't talk to any of them for a week. Poor kid.
Not me but a friend of mine. He self-medicated with alcohol and drank around his kids almost constantly. One occasion he was angry about something one of the kids did. His youngest daughter went to the fridge and handed him a beer and told him he needed to calm down. He hasn't had a drop since. My wife and I during one of our rare copulations were doing it on the couch. I had like a 30-second orgasm that was loud and proud. The stairs to our house have a landing where you look around the wall and see the whole living room. After my unusually and exceedingly long orgasm, I hear my 6-year-old's voice emanating from the stairs asking, "Daddy, why are you laying on Mommy?" Going, "Oh, oh, oh." I unstubbed my toe and it hurt so much I fell over on Mommy. Go to bed, and he did. I'm pretty sure he'll put it together when he's old enough.
I'm not a parent, but I caught my dad having an affair on my stepmom, with my mom. Luckily I didn't see anything horrific.
Not a parent, but I did get caught by my mom having sex when I was 15. She walked in on my BF and I doing it doggy style. She screamed and slammed the door. My BF was horrified. I waited like 15 minutes and went out to the living room where she was, and she was laughing on the phone with her friend telling them what she just saw.
When my daughter was in elementary school, she needed a jump drive for something. I gave her one that I knew was okay. The day that she needed it, she tried it and there was some kind of a problem with it, so I grabbed another one to give to her. You probably already guessed it. There was that folder on there from when I was tossing away an old backup hard drive. She must have opened it up. She did not tell me about it until she was about 19. All I could do was say whoops.
I talk alone all the time. My children are under 2. Soon, they'll realize their mom likes to discuss with herself. Oh well.
I was changing my daughter when she was a toddler, who was about 14 months old, and the little monkey was wriggling around trying to escape. She almost fell off the change table, and I said shit. There was a few seconds of silence which was broken by her little voice saying shit perfectly. Uh-oh. I was sure that she'd start saying that all of the time because I laughed when she said it. She didn't say it again, though. Changing that kid's nappy was like trying to put clothes on a cat. Luckily toddlers don't have claws and she wasn't a biter.
My 5-year-old, who was supposed to be sleeping, decided to barge into our room while I was on top of my significant other. I was already yelling no, no, no while the door was opening, so he only got a glimpse while touring around to shut the door. I threw some clothes on and followed him out to tuck him back into bed. He asked me what I was doing in top of Dad. So me, being my quick-thinking self, told my son that I was cracking Dad's back. LOL. Son says, "Oh, like Dr. Kevin? My chiropractor." I said exactly like that.
Eating chocolate without sharing. When my son was about 7 or 8, me and the wife were getting it on in the early hours of the morning. My wife said she locked our bedroom door, and to this day she would swear that she did. We were being very quiet, but he walked into our room so quietly we didn't hear him. All of a sudden I hear my wife say, "Jake." I turned my head and there he was, just standing next to the bed with a very confused look on his face.
Not actually bad, but my wife had wanted to rearrange our bedroom closet for a long time but just couldn't find the time with our, at the time, 2-year-old son constantly underfoot. She was out of the house one afternoon, so I decided to surprise her by taking out all the clothes and putting them back the way she wanted. My son was watching and saw me drape her many skirts and dresses over my arms and shoulders so I could move them out efficiently. My wife came home, and when she asked him what we'd been up to, he casually said, "Papa was wearing your clothes." My wife shot me a weird glance and I gave her that "I'll explain later" hand gesture that's part of the nonverbal communication every couple develops after many years together. I'm over a foot taller than her and close to 2.5 times her weight, so I'm sure the mental image that flashed in her head was very confusing. Edit, and by confusing, I mean traumatizing.
Not the parent but the child in this story. We all moved in with my grandma's. Times were hard. My mom really hated grandma, to the point apparently she didn't even want to walk through the house to pee. We were all watching a movie in my mom's room, and I see a can of Lay's stacks, like Pringles. Popped that sucker open and tilted it down to get me some chips, but got covered in my mom's piss instead. She was peeing in a Lay's can. Went straight to the shower and they never knew, but WTF.
Not a parent. I couldn't sleep one night. For some reason I was wandering around the apartment. I saw the balcony doors were open and my mom was sitting on the railing of the half-balcony ledge with her legs dangling out, probably thinking about jumping. She could have easily just scooted forward a couple of inches and gone over the side. 7th floor. I started sobbing and begging her to come in. She did eventually, calling me an idiot. Stupid, ruining everything. She's an alcoholic, so I saw a lot over the years before I moved out at 19, but that one stays with me. Edit, typo.
Daughter caught me drinking straight from the milk jug.
Having a depression nap, sob in bed. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I wish she hadn't seen. At least until she was old enough to understand.
Back in time people recorded TV shows on VHS tapes. My uncle brought us a documentary about wild animals in Africa. It was a Sunday night. All family gathered. Me, 10 years old, my sister, 5 my parents and my grandparents, that is my uncle's parents, were sitting on the couch to see it. Let's just say that what we saw was wild, very wild. As soon as he realized that it was his porn tape, he desperately tried to shut it down, pressing all the buttons on the remote. Having failed, he stood up and pressed our old TV buttons, failing to change the channel and increasing the sound in process. So I was laughing, my sister wasn't understanding anything, my grandma was covering his eyes, grandpa was paralyzed in shock, mom and dad also trying to help my poor uncle. In the end, someone managed to eject the tape. It all happened in like 5 seconds, but I'm sure for my uncle it lasted a lot more than that. Edit. Thanks for the award, kind stranger.
Caught my dad wanking to an episode of Jerry Springer once. Not a parent story as my kids are still babies, but that was horrible. Dad never knew I saw either.
Not a parent, but a forever scarred child. I think I was like 10 when this happened. I had recently discovered the wonderful world of picking locks with bobby pins and walked around the house checking for locked doors I could pick. I found a door that was locked and it was my parents' bedroom door. I proceeded to pick it and saw my dad's naked ass sticking up in the air, and that's about it before my mom yelped when she realized the door was open now. I quickly shut the door and ran to my room 2 floors down. I stopped picking bedroom door locks after that. Edit, my name is not Jake. That would have been one hell of a coincidence though. My kid got my wife and I doing one thing that we usually do when he goes sleep. He busted us for eating McNuggets and ice cream. 15 minutes later that Uber driver delivered it to us. He was furious. Haha, my soul's daughter caught her giving me a BJ. Worst part was that we didn't notice and she didn't say anything till the next morning. We are eating breakfast and she just blurts out, "Is gimme 3 strokes PP okay? I saw mommy kissing it an awful lot last night." There were 3 other kids in the room and 2 of them knew exactly what she was talking about.
When I was playing GTA 5 and he caught me kicking cats in-game. It took me several hours to calm him down. He was perfectly fine with all the murder and thefts. But kicking cats was the line in the sand.
I was a witness. I was volunteering at a festival. Parking was kinda far away with shuttle buses taking people back and forth. Guy is told he has to fold his stroller up to get on the bus. He tries to fold it and has trouble cause his kid was still in it. It wasn't a one try and realized it was like 3 tries where he put his weight into it before he realized. He was basically folding his kid's feet to forehead. Kid was doing the silent cry ... then started wailing. Dad kinda noped outta there as quick as he could,
pulling a string out of our dog's anus. So many questions. She told random strangers.
Not exactly bad, more awkward. My husband was checking my nether regions for ingrown hairs. I've got a bad back and poor eyesight, so yes, I need help with that. All of a sudden our 3-year-old is at our bedside, asking if she could have a glass of water. We decided to just act normal and not make a big deal about it. She never mentioned it to us or anyone, so I think we dodged a bullet.
I had my husband's dong in my mouth when my daughter bursted into the room. It was devastating. She brings it up occasionally but doesn't remember what was happening, but that something didn't seem right. She actually just brought it up last week.
This isn't a parent story, but when I was about 14 years old I used to wake up every early morning to go visit my grandparents who lived right next to me. It was about 7 a.m. and I went into their house. I didn't hear them talking nor were they making food, so I was concerned. I opened their bedroom door and I was scarred. Lol, caught them having sex, missionary. On the floor. My grandpa didn't bat an eye, but I made eye contact with my grandma for half a second before I shut the door and ran back to my house next door. I laid in disbelief and felt as if I could never see them face to face again. Thankfully my grandpa and I talked normally later that day, so that was good. Lol.
There's a few of you that typed it out ... but then didn't have the courage.
Got caught by my 6-year-old getting it on. My BF was on top. Luckily we heard some noise outside the door and pulled the blanket on us. He asked why my BF was on me and I told him I was really cold. When he was 7 he tried coming in when my BF was going down on me. We thought he went back downstairs. We would put a movie or show on for him and go upstairs to do stuff, but he didn't. I walk out of the room and he was there sitting at the top of the stairs and asked why was I panting so much. Folding laundry is just so much work.
My son, when he was about 3, was occupied watching Paw Patrol or something, so the wife and I snuck away for some sex. Swore I locked the door. So anyways, I'm pounding away and feel the impending orgasm brewing ... Door starts to rattle ... I finish just as the door opens. Son with a huge grin shouts yeet, clearly happy to have gotten the door open, as my wife and I quickly cover ourselves up.
GF's son, laughing his ass off, told us he saw mommy jumping on you.
I'm not a parent, but when I was 15 I caught my parents snorting coke with their friend in my little brother's room. They told me it was powdered sugar ... BC it was on a plate. They thought that was rational. I still can't believe their nerve. They've recovered since then, and our relationship is way better now. As an adult, I try to cut them some slack. Parenting is hard already, and when you're a struggling addict it is even more so. But as a teen I hated them, not only for the addiction, but also for insulting my intelligence like they did. Still something I think about that I need to let go.
Sneaking some Ready Whip. It's my kid's favorite thing and I will never forget the look of utter betrayal on her face when she caught me
eating the last ice cream bar while hiding so they couldn't see me eating the last ice cream bar.
Anal. Vocal, uncovered by the sheets, doggy style anal. The worst part is that 3-year-olds can be pretty insistent when asking what "fuck my ass, baby" means. When you tell them it's something only grown-ups can say and that you'll tell them what it actually means when they're older, they will turn right around and ask grandpa, their daycare teacher and every other adult they encounter without your supervision. Which is probably to be expected, but what you don't think about is the fact that the 3-year-old will explain what he saw to each of those adults and that each and every one of them will fully understand what the kid witnessed and will have opinions about it that they feel the need to share with you . Edit, for anyone interested, the grandpa in question was my father-in-law. So while I may have been a bit flippant with his concerns, see below, I have some sympathy for the man, who had to at least briefly picture his little princess getting duked up the poop chute.
I'm an alcoholic, though sober for 8 years. My son was in high school. He had given up baseball, but we kept his bat bag in the garage. He never used it. I hid a couple of empty vodka bottles in it. He decided to bat the ball around with his girlfriend. Not good, getting rammed from behind in the bathroom. Forgot to lock the door.
When I was in 6th grade, I went to an alternative school after being expelled. I was introduced to drug use here. One day, I came home and my apartment reeked of weed. I asked my mom why it smelled like pot in the house and she swore it was just some smelly stuff. I'm 18 now, she admitted that it was actually weed.
Not been caught doing anything sus by my kids as far as I know. But when I was a kid, probably 6 or 7, I opened the door to my parents' room to see Dad plowing Mom doggy style. They both immediately, in one graceful movement, separated and got back under the covers. I didn't really understand or care what I saw. I was just a kid with no compression that I wasn't meant to see it, or that I should be horrified. I just had something that I needed to tell them. It wasn't until many years later that I clicked and realized what I saw.
Trimming my pubes. My then 5-year-old walks in, goes, "Mom, what are you doing?" I panicked and said I was cutting my hair, like we cut hair on our heads. She said okay and walked away. I have no idea if she remembers or even thought anything about it.
Was making love to my 8-month pregnant wife, and my son started kicking. I can only assume.
10 years ago. I was using my vibrator on my bed with the door closed. I had a blanket over me just in case. My 7-year-old son walks in and sits on the bed. As he sat down, the vibrator slipped out onto the bed and was buzzing. He asked, "What's that, Mummy?" I just said Mummy was playing Star Wars at Mummy's lightsaber. He went to grab it. I said, "No, that's a girl one. When we go shopping later I'll get you your own toy one, of course with sound effects." I still get strange looks even now when he watches Star Wars. You can see he wants to ask but dare not.
Honestly, the worst thing, the biggest crime, that has always led to a shit ton of grief, is when I try to sneak a bite anything for myself. There's one cookie left, and it's the middle of the night, with the kids in bed. I try to quietly and stealthily chew, then from the corner of my eye, I'll spot one of the demon spawn, causally lurking. Then before I can even clear my mouth, they sound the alarm and suddenly everyone is up. Mom has cookies. Cookies? Mom's getting us cookies. Repeat process for every candy and chip I try to eat regardless of where I hide. Edit, thank you so much for the silver. I'm just glad so many seem to relate to my plight. Lol. Edit 2, wow. 2 silvers? That's a first, and I'm beyond happy that so many have enjoyed my post. Thank you so much. Edit 3, 3 silvers. Unbelievable. I'm seriously ending my night on a high note. Thank you, D. Edit 4, now I've made gold. Thank you so much for the appreciation. Fuck you trolls. It's only proper to show thanks for being recognized.
I was a widower for about a year at the time of this incident. I had a woman over, and she was going down on me in my living room at about 10 p.m. at night. Mid-BJ, I hear a tiny voice across the room say, "Daddy." From my daughter's perspective, she probably just saw my nude, white ass, and a half-nude woman on the couch in front of me because I quickly threw my boxers on and ran over to comfort her and get her back to bed. And she was barely 3 at the time, so she probably didn't even realize what was going on or remember it today. She's almost 6 now, but I cringe like hell whenever I think of it to this very day, or the embarrassment of the woman who was caught in the middle of the act. I was a lonely, widowed parent of 3 young children and just wanted a little action. As parents, we suffer to the bitter end trying to care for our children. I just never thought that said suffering would include a case of blue balls.
Not a parent but an older brother. I fell asleep and when I woke up I found my brother in my mom's room with a wig on covered in peanut butter, so now I lock the doors and put away anything I don't want him to get to.
My 7-year-old has a habit of coming out of his room because he's scared. He's done this since he learned to walk, and he's not scared, he's just afraid he's going to miss something exciting. Now that you know that, I can't tell you about the time my husband had taken some weed, legal here and he rarely does it, and being the nice wife I am, I prepared him some fresh baked cookies, pizza rolls, nachos and wings. Basically a munchies buffet on the table after the kids had gone to bed. My kid comes out like he usually does, announces that he's once again scared, and proceeds to have one pair of eyeballs that goes to the size of dinner plates because damned if there isn't an amazing spread just sitting in front of his parents on the coffee table. That was months ago and the little butthead still thinks that's what we do after they go to bed every day.
I mean, it happens every day. I go into the bathroom to have a dollar hit and 5 minutes of peace, and one of them barges in to announce some inane grievance about the other one. Does no one have locks on their doors? Jeez.
Reading the NRSV Bible instead of the King James.
My wife had a flat in the middle of a driving rainstorm. I went out and rescued her, but in the course of changing the tire, I was soaked through. All the way to my skin. Like a swimming pool. We get home, I'm in pain, wet, cold, our teenager is in the kitchen cooking which is next to the laundry room. I go to the laundry room, dripping wet, and tell him in the next 40 to 60 seconds, I will be completely naked. If you want to continue standing there, that's on you. But. Takes off shirt, in the next 20 to 30 seconds. Okay. I'm going.
I literally got walked in by our 3-year-old while pegging his daddy.
Got caught eating her candies, while thinking she was asleep. It was the worst.
One of my children never saw anything, but I was having a loud orgasm. TV in the living room was loud so I thought I was in the clear. Suddenly we hear him knocking on the door. Mommy, are you okay? ? He was so concerned. We just replied that we were having a tickle fight and I was laughing and screaming, eating his candy. After he went to sleep my wife and I still laugh about it.
Not a parent but literally yesterday I, 22F, caught my dad masturbating to pics of my mom, still married, on the computer at 2 a.m., 100% traumatizing while also being just a bit surprisingly unconfusingly wholesome.
A man cut me off in the grocery store and just didn't even acknowledge that he almost rammed into my cart with a kid in it. I stopped and was a little stunned and then my kid who was 3 at the time pipes up with thanks jackass. Yeah, we are all working on our potty words.
I wasn't caught doing anything, but my almost 6-year-old daughter found my dildo in a drawer. I had it hidden. She then proceeded to say, Mommy, what's this? It's so squeezy, I like it. I almost died. My husband and I had to lie to her. We told her she may not go into that drawer again or touch anything in it since those were Dad's tools and they could be very dangerous. She hasn't been near the drawer since.
Snorting a line of coke off of their mum's ass cheek.
Responding as a daughter ... found a condom wrapper in the back seat of my father's car. He had recently separated from my mother. Felt I had to keep that to myself. Not before I mortified him with endless teasing.
Why that extra comma though?
My mom swears she scarred me for life because I have no recollection of this. But she was happily strumming away watching stuff on her computer, with a dial-up connection. I walk in and she claims she dove over the foot of the bed and under the quilt, made herself decent and to me back to bed. She loves telling the story but I'm not sure how true it is.
Yeah. Left the hentai open on my personal laptop. Teenage daughter screams "Muua." The next time you used private browsing remember to close it. It was my birthday. After presents and cake and all we tucked our 4 years and 9 years olds in bed and 15 years old went to bed. For a last present my wife was giving me a lawn chair in our room. 15-year-old proceeds to barge in yelling he broke his finger. He saw me mid-blowjob. He obviously knew and walks out and waits for me to pull my pants up. I drive him to the ER. He did in fact break his pinky after falling off the bed and landing on it. Never spoke of what he caught us doing.
I found my husband's weed in my kid's room once, before I knew that she knew we smoked it. She said she didn't smoke any and there didn't appear to be any missing, but the stash is of course under lock and key now. I think all 3 of us felt like dumbasses that day, but it has led to some pretty healthy no BS conversations, so I guess that's good.
Not a parent, but I did manage to overhear my mother making some rather loud sex noises with her boyfriend. My mother's house was very echoey, so nowhere was safe. Thank God for headphones.
Saw my parents make my sister.
Not the parent, but I was sleeping with this girl once that had a 6-year-old son. We were fucking so loudly upstairs we woke him up. He quietly crept up the stairs, but her mom ears caught it and told him she was in bed laughing at a funny video. He took the bait and went back to sleep. Flash forward to a couple days later, out to eat with him and some other friends, and her son completely unprompted goes, "Mom was watching a funny video the other night where they kept saying 'fuck me daddy' a lot." Girl was mortified, but the rest of us could not stop laughing. Kid just went right on eating chicken tenders, completely oblivious.
I was on the phone to my friend and we were talking about my daughter. My son was meant to be in his room playing but went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. I was in the living room. Anyway, we were talking about my daughter and my friend's daughter's play date and were laughing over my daughter falling into the pond at the park we were at. My son starts crying and freaking out. I hung up and asked what was wrong. And he goes, "Is Marcy dead?" My daughter, turns out he thought his big sis had drowned.
As the child, it was my dad's birthday and I was up early eating a bowl of cereal in the kitchen. His bedroom was directly above the kitchen. I hear the bed start squeaking, and I'm like 14, so I know exactly what's going on. I stop eating, disgusted, and just am sitting there waiting for it to end. It does, and my dad comes downstairs, doesn't say a word to me, opens the fridge and chugs milk straight out of the gallon. Again, doesn't say a word, turns around, goes upstairs and closes the bedroom door. The bed starts again. So fucking brutal. At least my parents love each other.
As we were getting it on, hot and heavy, and his balls slapping me in the living room since I had been watching TV beforehand. Huge belly laugh right next to us from our 3-year-old. Then our son yells, "Daddy, what are you doing?" Another laugh from him followed. Mortified.
We only have 2 bedrooms at home, for 5 people, so my little sister of 15 has slept her whole life in the same room as my parents. She sleeps kind of above them. She told me she has heard them have sex multiple times. I'm just glad I'm not the youngest.
She caught me throwing away her kindergarten certificate. Didn't go over very well.
Sometimes if it was really cold or rainy out, I'd try to get away with not taking my cart all the way back to the cart corral. My daughter had some kind of sixth sense about it and would catch me every time. Then I'd get the look of death as I meekly pushed the cart the rest of the way back to the return area. She's a tyrant, I tell you.
Can I answer for my parents? Because I have struggled to forget that one Christmas morning I ran into their room to notify them Santa had arrived and saw them fully intertwined. Like, what the hell? You really thought Christmas morning was a good time for a quickie? Not a parent, but one time I heard my mom panting from behind my parents' bedroom door, so I barged in. I was like 9. I see my mom hiding for her life underneath a blanket with dad, and I asked her what's going on, and she says I had an asthma attack. Little kid me goes oh, leaves, only to barge in 10 minutes later holding out a Ventolin in my hands for her. She definitely was not having an asthma attack.
My GF was giving me a handy dandy under the blanket while the baby, she's 4 but I call her my baby, was playing in the other room. She came in to show us something and asked why mommy was being mean to daddy. She thought she was hitting me. Oh no. Needless to say, mama stopped hitting daddy after she snuck up on us. Frown.
I was actually the child in this situation, so when I was about 4 or 5 I was making a sandwich and my weak ass couldn't open the peanut butter jar, so I went to ask my mum too. I walked in to see my future stepdad on top. They both froze and stared right at me. I knew what was going on. To that point in time I was basically raised on Geordie Shore and Family Guy, so I just turned around, walked out. A little late my mum came out and asked me not to tell anyone, especially my nan, who we were living with, because my mum was so young. After some discussion we were on our way to getting my first iPad.
Forfeiting love for complacency. Oh my god, please learn love from someone better than me.
Thank you for watching. We publish amazing Reddit stories every day. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to keep the dog smiling.